I was sitting here. I've just finished listening to Gabriel Carcassi. I started last night. No, the night before last, and then went to sleep because it was like 12:30. Anyway, I ended up staying up until 1:30 last night and still hadn't got to the end, so I carried on this morning, and I've made some notes here. It's really good. He's people talk to him, say he went to the Perimeter Institute and put up a poster, and we're on the same kind of track, he and I. So it was Turing. And I had some thoughts last night when I went for a walk about this business of partitioning, subdividing space, and about the connection with mathematics and things like ideals and foundations of math, but they're very, very vague. That's this video I made in the dark called Space-Time from Process Calculi. I have an idea that you could use, you could show how space-time turns up when you have processes. And all you start with are kind of interactions between processes. And then your boundary conditions give you some sort of initial statistics, which then determine a system, but determine it in a very formal way, not in a as a formal cause rather than as an efficient cause or a material cause. And yeah, so that was good. And then I went and got a cup of tea, and when I came back I pressed refresh on YouTube, and look who showed up. 5 minutes ago. So I thought we could watch this and listen to what she's got to say. She's talking about well-being and tea.
Hello. I was thinking about wellness and well-being today, and how there are different things that we often forget to consider as medicine. You know, one of those things is tea. I think tea is most certainly medicine, and
This is rooibos tea.
you can make tea out of. But I also think that stories can be medicine. If you combine the two, tea and stories, you know, I don't know, wonderful, magical, those are the words that come up in my mind. And I think stories can be used as medicine because the stories that we hear, the stories that we tell ourselves, they make a difference. You know, I spent some time helping to teach English in Spain about a year ago to kids that were in grades 1, 2, and 3. And it made me really realize how, especially for kids, they hear stories and they take them more or less as truth. You know, they use stories as examples. They learn from stories. You know, about how to live, about how to act. They repeat the words that they hear in the stories, the phrases, the funny parts, the,
all that applies to physicists just as much.
It really, really makes me think. Is it not the same as we get older? Sometimes the stories come in different forms. They might be stories from the news, they might be stories that we hear from our friends, but, some of us, I don't know how much we include read books. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm trying to make reading fun as well.
Yeah. It's hard to read now because this is almost like interacting with actual people, and since it got so hard to interact with actual people because everyone's busy doing stuff, and then it makes it hard to read books. Like look how far I'm still on. See, the last book, what put an end to my reading was Proofs and Types. I'm still trying to read Proofs and Types, but you see, people write this stuff in books. I think it's because everything's broken up. The knowledge is all in pieces. And people value new things more than they value understanding old things. And stuff like Substack. I deleted the Substack app yesterday because what happened was I would try and look at something on it. I would click on one story because it was particularly something I wanted to listen to. It went into the wrong video, something else I didn't want to listen to. I went back, I clicked the left arrow at the top, which usually means back, and it went somewhere else. The original list wasn't there, and what was in the scrolling things, it was on autoplay. So as I moved through looking for what it was that I just get these bursts of people trying to get their news out, and it was shocking. And it's all high octane because they're used to it, so they clip and they design it so that it grabs your attention, and then you have this string of people all trying to grab your attention with punchy phrases, and it's like being beaten up, basically. It's the mental equivalent of being kicked in the face by a mob. So I just deleted the app, and now Kurt thinks that I want to go and listen to something about some fragment of his thing with Roger Penrose and on Substack when I'm not. Sorry, Kurt. Good luck with your YouTube channel. There's some interesting people on there, but well, I don't know what you're trying to do. Really don't.
For myself, because when you go through school, you have to read a lot of informational texts, or something that isn't fun, and you have to dissect all the meanings. Sometimes I like dissecting all the meanings, and sometimes I just want to read a book for fun. in my imagination, play out all the images and scenes and everything. I definitely bounced around from whatever I was talking about. I guess the point was that the stories that we hear as adults are different, but it's still important. We might not be as visible, in our lives, how the stories that we hear impact us, but I'm pretty sure they still do. Just like the stories that we hear, matter, so do the words that we say, because they're also stories, Yeah, I guess that was my main point. It isn't like a fully formed thought. It is just a bunch of thoughts kind of floating around. But the point is, I want to read a story that I wrote. And sometimes when I write stories, I do keep this idea in mind of stories as medicine. So some of the stories that I write have this first sentence to explain who the story is for, what the story is for. And this first one that I would like.
I'm going to leave it at that and listen to the story, because otherwise I'll just be pointing my phone at her video all the time, but it's very good. Thank you, Janet. There's my story, how I became a homeless physics professor. I saw Matt Taibbi in London when I went to that Julian Assange rally. He really exists, and he flies around and does things.